The advice you see online about neck training is absolutely terrible, right? Because the general consensus is if your neck is thick enough that it aligns to your jawline. So basically, what that means is that so you see where your jawline ends, right? So your jawline ends here. If your neck is thick enough that when you're looking straight, it aligns all the way down, it's just like a straight line, then that's like basically the most optimal situation where your neck is thick enough. And I think that's absolutely terrible, right? And why is that? Because I'm basically like the perfect person to tell you about this because I had the skinniest neck, right? I had a neck where it's like I would look into the mirror, right? So I'd take off my shirt, I'd look into the mirror, and the first thing my eyes were drawn to is the thickness of my neck, right? This was even before knowing that you could train neck, right? One of my biggest insecurities was the thickness of my neck, right? And I trained my neck for like 8 months, right? So now I've trained my neck for 8 months. Now I have like a thick, defined neck, right? So you can see that I have like a thick, defined neck, right? And like basically this is like even doubly more important if you're training for aesthetics, if you're training specifically for female attention, right? If you're training to maximize female attention, this is like super important, right? And I know like some of you guys, your eyes just lit up. You're like, oh, okay, yes, we're training to get bitches, right? Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for, right? So yeah, this is like doubly more important if you're training for female attention, right? The thickness of your neck is like it's so important because it just maximizes attraction, especially like since your neck is visible in basically anything that you're going to put on. You're going to wear t-shirt, you're going to wear a hoodie, you're going to wear a sweater, your neck is always going to be visible. And when you have it like trained and you have it like thick and developed, right, it's just like it subconsciously tells them that your whole physique is good, your whole physique is trained, because neck is one of those things where like since you don't directly train neck, it's never going to be developed unless you intentionally directly train it, right? So when I had and also the opposite is true, right? When I had a very skinny neck, you could tell without having to see my physique, you could tell in anything that I'm wearing that I'm super skinny, right? Because like if my neck is so skinny, you can obviously tell that I'm super skinny, right? So I trained my neck for 8 months straight, and I've already shown you guys the results, right? And one of the biggest things that I was thinking about, right, is that people won't train neck like ever. Influencers talk about training neck, they don't train neck themselves. A lot of influencers don't even talk about training neck. Like neck is one of those things where like you really have to go out of your way to look for this information, right? You really have to go out of your way to find information about neck training because no one just talks about neck training, right? I'm probably the first person ever that you've heard talk about specifically training neck, directly training neck. Like right now in this video, it's probably the first time you're realizing, wait, you can actually train your neck for it to be thicker. You can actually train your neck to be more attractive. Like this is probably the first time you're hearing about this advice, right? Just because like people don't actually talk about it, and yet it's one of like the 7 aesthetic muscles, which are like the muscle groups that you train to maximize female attention, right? So like the muscles are neck, upper traps, it's like your upper traps, lateral delts, which is just like your side delts, upper chest, abs obliques, biceps, and then like lats, right? So lats are basically like the ones that are gonna give you the V taper, which is the equivalence of like the hourglass shape in a female, right? So just like the same way we find like girls who are curvy and have like big ass and whatever, the same way we find that attractive is the same way girls find a guy with a V taper attractive, right? So like that's the equivalent, right? So that's just a little bit of a side point, right? So neck is one of the 7 aesthetic muscles, but no one trains it at all. There's no advice about training it, and yet it makes basically the biggest difference in your physique, right? I trained neck for just 8 months, and I'm gonna put up the pictures next to each other, right? It's probably going to be like the thumbnail as well. I'm gonna put up the pictures next to each other, and you're going to see like the difference is day and night. The difference is absolutely day and night. All factors constant, everything else constant. Like before, like, you can't tell in the pictures like what my physique looks like, right? You can only tell that like the size of my neck is different, right? Everything else constant. You can tell that like my attractiveness on a scale has gone up like 2-3 points, right? Like my attractiveness has just gone up instantly just because like my neck is thicker, right? Just because my neck is thicker in the second picture, and I've only trained it for 8 months, right? It's just made like a huge difference. You can tell by yourself. Like, I don't even have to convince you about this. The difference is not marginal. Like, let's say you train like your biceps, right? Let's say like you've been in the gym, you've been training your biceps, right? From now, and then you train them 8 months later. You're gonna have slightly bigger biceps 8 months later. Maybe even like the difference is quite noticeable, right? But like the difference is marginal. It's not that significant. It's quite marginal, right? Let me give you like another example. Let's say you've been training like your chest, right? Because I also had, like, a super skinny chest, but like that's a do you even call it skinny chest? Like, I had no chest, I had hollow chest, right? That's also like a side point. You train your chest for 8 months straight, right? You're gonna have a slightly bigger chest. Maybe when you put on a t-shirt, you can tell like the t-shirt is hugging your chest a little bit tighter, right? The t-shirt looks tighter around your chest. You can tell, right? But like, it's not the biggest of difference. It's not very significant. It's not very that important, right? Because like to really build up your physique, you need like years of training. I've been training for like 15 months, but I think I'm an exception because I've made tremendous progress in just 15 months of training. Like, I'm talking, I've put on about like 40 something pounds of muscle in just 8 months of training, right? So like my progress has been very exceptional. Like, I've made ridiculous progress in the 8 months of my training, right? But the general thing is that for you to really build up an aesthetic physique, you'd need like a couple of years of training, right? But neck is one of those things where you see results quite instantly. Like, you see results after a few months, and you can tell this is very significant, right? Now, we're really going to test this hypothesis. We're going to test this theory, right? The easiest way for me to convince you about this is that you go to the gym, you do 3 sets of neck training, right? And I always see this for myself, right? Every time I go to the gym and I train neck, right? And my neck is like, I get a neck pump, right? You've probably never gotten a neck pump in your life, so it's gonna be like super hype for you. You're gonna be like losing your mind, right? Yeah, actually, like, you're gonna be looking in the mirror and you're not gonna believe what you're going to be seeing. You're going to look like an anime character, like Baki or some shit, right? Because like, when you get a neck pump, right, for the first time, I've like, even I'm not used to the feeling, right? And I've been training neck for like months on end, right? You look in the mirror, your neck is like defined, it's thick. Right now, like, my neck, like, it looks like defined and everything, right? But this is just like I've just woken up, whatever, right? It's just like no more day, right? When you have a neck pump, it's ridiculously good. I'm telling you, it's so good, right? Go try this for yourself. Go train 3 sets to failure. Train them as hard as you can. 3 sets to failure. And you will see the difference is huge. The difference is huge. You see it for yourself, right? I always see this for myself, as I said, right? And like, it's also one of those things, once again, that like, since no one is training neck, like, no one is training neck that you know. In my gym, right? I go to the gym like 6 times a week, right? I've been going to the gym for like 15 months, right? In that whole time space of going to the gym, I'm yet to see another person aside from me train neck, right? I'm yet to see any other human being aside from me train neck. And whenever I go during like peak hours, so I go from like 4 p.m. to like 7 p.m., whatever, right? I go during peak hours where like there's the most amount of people. I've never seen anyone else train neck besides myself, right? And it's always the thing where like one of my friends will see me, like one of the guys that I know from the gym, they'll see me training neck, and then they'll come over to say hi, whatever, they'll pass by, then they'll come back and they're like, hey, what is this training for? Like, what does this do? And then I have to do the whole thing of explaining to them, like, this is like neck training. It's really good. It helps with the aesthetics, whatever, right? And then they're like, oh, okay, I've never heard about this. And I'm like, yeah, I totally believe you. I don't, you don't need to convince me that you've never heard about this. I believe that you've never heard, because like, neck is one of those things where like, there's just not enough information about it, right? And now, since like I've told you that no one trains neck, and I've told you why you need to train neck, because it makes the biggest difference in your appearance, Now when you train neck, you're going to have such a huge competitive advantage, right? You're going to have like such a big advantage over everyone else simply because no one else is a trained neck, right? No one else is training neck, and you train neck, you train it for like some months on end. Like, put one and one together, you're obviously going to stand out. You're obviously going to stand out because you've got like a thick muscular neck. Everyone else just has a skinny neck that looks like it could just snap at any moment, right? Just like what I did a couple months ago, right? Like my neck, you'd see my neck in like a sweat or some shit. And I mean, I would see it. I don't know about other people. I would see it and I'm like, holy fucking shit, right? What atrocious shit is this, bro? Like even if I got a slightly bigger chest, slightly bigger biceps, the first thing I would look at is the thickness of my neck. It used to be one of those things where I could look and I'm like, ah, shit, I have a skinny neck as fuck, and people can tell, and like they're gonna know that I'm skinny even if I put on a hoodie. They are gonna know that I'm skinny because like you have a skinny neck, right? So like it's just like I don't think like I can put into the perfect words for you to tell you how important it is for you to train neck. Like it's so important, right? And again, I'm just giving you this competitive advantage for free, right? Think about it. Like, no one is training neck, you start training neck, you're gonna have an advantage over everyone, right? I've trained my neck for 8 months, and I feel like there's still so much more progress that I can make with this. And to contradict again the general consensus, which is like the jawline thing, right? Like where your jawline is as thick as your neck, right? I don't even think that's nearly good enough. I think your neck should be like, peak Mike Tyson thickness, right? Where it's like super thick and developed and muscular, right? That's when I think like that's like around the point where you'd really like maximize female attraction, right? So I'm gonna keep grinding out the neck. I'm gonna keep training it so that it's super developed, and like this is the thing that I'm most excited about over every other muscle, right? This is the thing that I'm most excited about, right? So that was the video for today. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel.